Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dan Bornay, and on behalf of Louisiana State University and the LSU Athletic Department, welcome to the LSU Women's Basketball Practice Gym in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center for a historic day as we honor one of the greatest female players of all time. Take a look around this gym. You'll see echoes of Seimone Augustus's great career. Whether it's the 3 Final Four banners that she played a critical role in winning, a picture of her celebrating a trip to one of those Final Fours of her her legendary number 33 retired LSU jersey. Seimone Augustus' impact on this program is as relevant now as it's ever been. And today, we are here for her and for her family, the hometown girl who altered the trajectory of this program the very day that she signed out of Capitol High School here in Baton Rouge. Today we honor Seimone Augustus as the first LSU female student athlete with a statue in our basketball plaza of legacy. A generational talent made a transformational impact on LSU. She was born to be a basketball star, and her arrival here for the 2002-2003 season came at just the right time, beginning an historic run for LSU that created a women's basketball fever here in Baton Rouge. In 140 games, Seimone and the Tigers went 121-19 and finished each season ranked among the best teams in the nation. The Augustus effect also helped the popularity of women's basketball reach an all-time high. In honor of her greatness, there are some folks here that should be recognized. The chairman of the LSU Board of Supervisors, Valencia Jones, the rest of the Board of Supervisors, and also the First Lady of Louisiana State University, Kim Cash Tate. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you. And at a table in the back, behind the cameras, the head coach, Kim Mulkey. Kim? Now, please turn your attention to the video board for a special video, the one that many call Money Moan.
I remember my first session when I decided like this was what I wanted to do. Pops was like, you want to be good, you want to be great. And I was like, I want to be great.
LSU's most decorated female athlete remains Baton Rouge native Seimone Augustus.
And for the first time in the history of LSU women's basketball, they are going to the Final Four.
I'd like to see a monument out there next to Shaq's for Seimone Augustus.
She's probably one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Will be attending Louisiana State University.
Number 33, Seimone Augustus.
This is just a great opportunity for women in general to be the first female athlete to have her jersey retired.
Our Hall of Fame committee here voted unanimously to officially put a statue on this campus of you. You're going to be the first female.
We're going to make a difference here, for sure, in many different ways. Not just a beautiful piece of art, but I think this historical significance of this piece excites me just as much.
Being from Baton Rouge and being from Louisiana, it means a lot. And Baton Rouge, this is for you.
Throughout her LSU career, Seimone Augustus scored over 20 points in 72 games. She finished her career with 97 consecutive games scoring in double figures. She had a beautiful shot, and she knew how to find the bottom of the bucket. If there were a poet laureate of women's basketball, it would be Seimone Augustus, because of her silky smooth jumper that went in with such poetic ease. And you simply cannot talk about Seimone if you don't talk about her high school career at Capitol High School right here in Baton Rouge. Greatness followed her immediately throughout her basketball career. In the spring of '99, she was on the cover of Sports Illustrated Women, finishing her career at Capitol on a 52-game win streak and winning back-to-back state titles. Seimone Augustus turned heads around the nation as the best high school senior in America. The girl from Baton Rouge was the most sought-after women's basketball recruit in the country. So when she signed with her hometown Tigers on April 29, 2002, there was cause for celebration. The women's basketball program under Sue Gunter was building something special, and it had just signed a generational player. Sue Gunter said that day, "For where we are now, to add a player of Seimone's magnitude to go along with the cast of players we have returning, it makes a huge statement as to where women's basketball at LSU is going." The athletic director at the time, five-time national baseball champion Skip Bertman, simply said, "I think Seimone is the most important recruit in the history of our athletic department." Profound statements from two LSU icons about another icon to be. There's someone here today who probably has a very good recollection of that day as anyone, and that's Bob Starkey. He coached at LSU from 1989 to 2011, and now he's back. It's an honor to introduce LSU Women's Basketball Associate Head Coach, Bob Starkey. Bob.
What a glorious day, huh? You know, when I woke up this morning, I'm thinking, how many times do you get to wake up knowing you're about to be a part of history? But then I'm driving to work, and I'm thinking, I had that feeling a dozen times because of coaching Seimone. History was what she was all about. I can't imagine to think what her family's going through, the emotions now, and I won't even pretend to know what's going through Seimone now, but I want to tell you it is a great day for coaches. It's a great day for coaches. I want to tell you why, because Dan so eloquently read off those numbers, the stats, and you see the banners, and you understand all those things are part of Seimone's greatness. But for me, it's not what she did, it's how she did it. She was the best practice player I've ever coached. Every day. Every day practice meant something to her. And it didn't have to with her talent, but her talent never set the bar for her. It was always her imagination and her drive. And by being that type of player, it elevated every player we had in our program to practice at a higher level. We were joking yesterday, she didn't much like the weight room, but nobody outworked her in the weight room, because she had an ability to evaluate what she needed to do to get where she wanted to go, and she would do that. Video, film. She became an amazing student of the game, whether she was watching herself or watching the next opponent. She knew her scouting report better than the coaching staff. In the off season, she was the poster child for unrequired work. She's the one to this day that I still tell players, this is how you get to be the best you can be. Whether it was getting in the gym on her own and being intentional and deliberate, working on a part of her game that she wanted to improve, or adding something to her game, she was in there. She played pickup with our players and drive across town and find some guys to play with. She was driven. She was obsessed with all the elements of the game. Dan talked about her jump shot, and I know that's what everybody remembers her for, and with good reason. It's the prettiest shot I've ever seen. But I've never coached a player that moved without the ball better than Seimone. The ability to get open, to go make a back cut when she was overplayed, to curl, flare straight coming off a screen. It was a thing of beauty. Her senior year, she was the best screener on our team, which speaks to her unselfishness, but also her understanding that sometimes the best way to get open would be to set a screen. She was also an amazing teammate, was there for all her teammates, and she did all of this under a microscope because she was Seimone Augustus. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but her senior year, we led the nation in road attendance. She was the show. Yeah, we packed it here, but we packed it everywhere. Everybody wanted to see Seimone. But I want to give you just a taste of her greatness here. I have an email that a woman sent to Coach Malky this week. I just want to read part of it. Coach, I couldn't help but remember an incident that happened in Greenville, South Carolina, probably about 17 years ago, that involved the great Lady Tiger, specifically Seimone Augustus. Our daughter Morgan was in the 9th grade, an athlete, a basketball fan. We took her to the 2005 SEC Tournament Championship game. Although LSU lost a hard-fought game to Tennessee, Seimone Augustus walked off the court a champion in the book of life. We were seated right by the tunnel where the team exited after the game. Our daughter had a program and a pen and was hoping to get Seimone's autograph. You know all too well how it feels to leave it all on the court and walk off after losing the game. The ladies walked through the tunnel, not looking up at the crowd, but I could see the disappointment in Seimone's face as I watched, and she paused after my daughter called her name out. She stopped, she smiled, she signed the program for my daughter, then proceeded through the tunnel. I have never been more impressed by the grace and character I witnessed that day. I am thrilled LSU is honoring Seimone for the greatness of her basketball years at LSU, but I'm still more impressed by the young woman that stopped in that tunnel to sign the autograph and managed to smile at my daughter. Now, the thing about iconic basketball players or iconic athletes or iconic anything is they leave you with benchmarks. Like all of you, 10, 20, 30 years from now are going to tell your friends, your family, your kids, I was there when they unveiled the statue. Well, Seimone has given us all kinds of benchmarks. Everybody, I was there when she did this. I was there when she did that. Well, I just want to share a few of my benchmarks. The first time I ever saw Seimone in person, she was in high school. It was Thanksgiving Day. She was at the River Center with her family presenting meals to the less fortunate. People ask me my favorite Seimone Augustus moment, and it's not on the court either. It was that April day at Capitol High School when she changed the trajectory of our program forever by deciding she wanted to stay at home and be a Lady Tiger. When people press me for a basketball moment, I got to give them one. But it ain't got nothing to do with the jump shot. It's a defensive play. It's a defensive play. It's March 27th, 2006. We're in San Antonio playing in the regional championship to go to yet another Final Four. We're playing Stanford. There's about 10 seconds to go, and we're up one, and Stanford has the ball. It's timeout. We know what they're going to run. They're going to run a little high ball screen action for a really good player that they had, and we knew that her goal was to get downhill with her right hand. We had Seimone locked in on their absolute best three-point shooter in the right corner. We came out of the timeout, and I told Seimone, whatever you do, don't leave her. Don't leave her. She's shooting about 48%. So they inbound the ball. They get the ball to their kid. She shakes our defender. She comes down the right side of the floor without hesitation. Seimone left her man and slid under and took the most beautiful charge I have ever seen. But now here's the greatness in that that's important to understand. After the game, when we had a moment, I asked Seimone, I said, what would possess you to leave her after I told you not to? She said, Coach, I play with her all the time in the summer ranks. I knew exactly what she was going to do. So the talent is there, undeniable, but she's also the smartest basketball player I've ever coached. So I do want you to know I lobbied the committee long and hard for that statue to be a defensive stance. I was resoundingly overruled. On behalf of everybody here, I want to thank you first for coming to LSU. I want to thank you for everything you've done for all of us and are continuing to do by the foundation and the roots that you left. But more importantly, I want to thank you for being who you are. Forever LSU, Moan.
Thank you, Coach. While we're on icons, there's another one in the house standing with Coach Mulkey. Dee Bro, welcome. Thanks for coming. No other LSU women's basketball player impacted her team more than Seimone. The 2005 graduate of LSU helped lead the Tigers to 3 consecutive Final Four appearances, was named the National Player of the Year, SEC Player of the Year twice. Her number 33 was hung from the rafters of the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. It's been there since 2010, when she became the first LSU female athlete to have her jersey retired. LSU won the SEC regular season championship when she was the National Freshman of the Year in 2003. The Tigers reached Final Four the following season in 2004, and over the course of the next 2 seasons, LSU won 2 SEC regular season championships and reached 2 more Final Fours, where Seimone was a consensus National Player of the Year in both of those seasons and a consensus All-American. Some called her the next Michael Jordan, some called her the Queen of the crossover, some still call her Money Moan, but call her what you like. The world will never forget her name. The 6'1" guard from Baton Rouge, number 33, Seimone Augustus.
All right. Let the church say amen. Amen. I've always wanted to say that at the podium. If you're from the South, you've been to some church. Today is a day of celebration, celebrating the pursuit of greatness. I know that's right. That started, long ago. As many of you know from Baton Rouge, I was that girl that played that ball. Everybody saw me with my father, traveling around Baton Rouge. And like the video said, I remember the first day that I knew basketball was my thing. I came home and I told my dad, and he said, "Really, basketball is your thing?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, you want to be good or you want to be great?" And I looked at him and I said, "What? I want to be great." And he said, "You know what, we got some work to do." And so we started training, and it started in the backyard at our house on a makeshift goal that he came up with. And then we went to the front yard of our house where we had a gravel court in which the crossover was formed, because if you ever dribbled on a gravel court, you gotta have some handle. From there we went to many Breck facilities, and Breck, I'm giving you a huge shout out here. But we went to Gushong Center, 48th Street Park, North Street Park, City Park. I mean, you name it, we were there. And it's one thing that I know for sure is that if we all got $1 for every time you've said this or you've heard this, we would be rich. And that's Seymour's crazy. But what I've learned in life is that there's a fine line between genius and crazy. And I think us standing here today would signal that he was more genius than he was crazy. But don't get it twisted. He titter-tattered that line quite often. And so that's when Mama Bear would come in. And she would swing that back porch door open and she'd say, "Seymour, leave that girl alone." Because we were outside bumping heads about how many more threes I'm gonna take, how many more jumpers I'm gonna make, how many more free throws I'm gonna do. And I would come inside. She'd say, come inside, and I would come inside, smelling like outside, musty. And she'll say, you know, get ready for dinner. I'm like, Mom, you made me mad, though. And she was like, I know, baby girl. That was the nurturer. That was the caring in my mother. But the protector side got her kicked out of many gyms here in Baton Rouge. Quite a few, maybe 4 or 5. How many, Mama? Look, you ain't got no words now. But she was defending her baby, who played basketball with mostly boys at the time. And it wasn't, you know, too many people weren't fond of a little girl beating up on little boys on the basketball court. And so she had to do what was right and make sure that I was okay. And for that, Mom, thank you. As I think during my training, my dad would always make this one statement. Every time I did, you know, made the right amount of shots or made the perfect move, he would say, "You the best in the world that I know." And I'm like, make another jumper. "You the best in the world that I know." Make another dribble move. "You the best in the world that I know." But what I didn't understand that I understand now was he was conditioning me to believe that I was the best in the world. And so, in the words of Tupac, what I had in my household was real models, not role models. I had people or parents who showed me what hard work, perseverance, and sacrifice was right in my household. And that's the discipline that you need in order to pursue greatness. And so as I gathered from those examples, I started my journey off into the world. Starting at Greenville Elementary School, Capitol Middle School, and as mentioned before, Capitol High School, where I didn't, until recently, realize that we only lost 7 games in 4 years. Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, wow. The same thing I said. And so when I think back on those times, we used to play 7 o'clock games and people would show up at 2:30 just to get a seat in the gym. Most games, or most times when girls play on the same day with the boys, the girls play first and then the boys. Well, it was reverse when we played. The boys played before us, or they played on another day. And that's the joy in this process, because so many, you know, amazing women helped me on this journey. And I don't even know if my lady, let me see if I got some Capitol High people in here. Wait. Hold on. What's the sound when you want to get loose? Okay. All right. They in here. But what I didn't know was that journey was going to prepare me for a choice that I had to make. That my parents said, you were going to make this choice on your own. They said, Jesus, take the wheel. They say choice, not chance, is what determines human destiny. And I had one of the biggest choices of my life to make. Whether I would go to the University of Tennessee with legendary Coach Pat Summitt, Hall of Fame players, and the historical program that we all know and love, or little old LSU. There wasn't a place in town that I couldn't go and I wouldn't hear, Tennessee, LSU, Tennessee. I couldn't drive my car, put your window down, LSU. But reflecting back, I think some people think that that decision was made that day, maybe that week, that month, that year. But now when I think about it, that decision was made long ago. When as a little girl, I used to attend the LSU women's basketball games. You know, back when they had the black curtain. Everyone like, It wasn't as much fanfare back then. But what I can remember is, coaches always say this. They say, you never know who's watching. And I know the ladies back then didn't know that I was watching, nor did I know that I would become who I would become today. But what I got a chance to watch was these ladies, Cornelia Gayton, Elaine Powell, Natasha Darcy, I mean, you name it. If you've been around, you know the history of LSU women's basketball. And I saw girls, young women, that were working hard, they were working together, and they were playing to win. And something about that just resonated with me. And so I would watch them compete against some of the best teams in the nation. I'm talking about Tennessee with the three Meeks, and Vanderbilt with Chantel Anderson, and Georgia with the Miller twins and Deanna Nolan. Like, the SEC is full of great talent. As I got to see those generational players and the times change, and it came closer to my generation of players that I played with or against at some point in time, like Tamika Johnson, Ronika and Donica Hodges, Datrina White, I mean, you name it. I now got to see players not just competing with those teams, but beating those teams. And so a thought came to my mind, like, do you think we can get there if I went here? And I remember one day going to the store, and the guy, LSU, Tennessee, he said, you think you good enough to go and do something at LSU? And I said, oh, excuse me. I said, well, I know I'm good enough. But if I fail, at least I tried. And so I made my choice. And so then the only thing my parents asked me to do in the whole recruiting process was to call the other coach and let them know. So I had to call Coach Summit. And I called. I was hoping she wouldn't answer. She answered. She answered, and I told her I would be attending LSU. And she knew. I could tell in her voice that she knew. And she said, good luck, and I'll see you soon. But see, that I'll see you soon had a different tone to it. So I knew what she meant when she said, I'll see you soon. I knew that it was going to be a hard road, and she was going to be the competitor that we've all known and loved. And so I headed off to LSU, 10 minutes away. And Coach Skip Bourbon said, this is the most important recruit in school history. Okay, there goes some motivation. Expectations were extremely high. But what I didn't account for was that I had teammates that understood that those expectations fell upon them as well. And so if I fell, we all fell. And they wasn't about to let that happen. It was only a few times here at LSU where I thought about getting in my car and going 10 minutes back home. And it was mostly on conditioning days. I remember the first day of conditioning we had over at the indoor football field, and we had to do a suicide. If you know what a suicide is, ask somebody in the crowd what a suicide is. It was timed. And I was like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, what am I doing? The second day, or the second time, was right here on the track field. Right next door, we had 24 100-yard sprints. I did 22, I dropped out. I said, oh no, I can't do it. And Meek, I see you in here, Meek. Meek, remember, Meek came, she said, Mo, you got it, baby. You only got to do 2. Now, Meek had already finished her 24. But she came down to lift me up, and she ran the last 2 with me and helped me through that day. The next time, I'm going to see if Coach Starkey remember this one. Tilly Willis, we were running sidelines, and Tilly Willis decided she didn't want to touch the line. And all I could hear was Bob saying, again, again. And I was like, looked over at Meek. I was like, if Bob say again, I'm going to get in my car, and I'm going home. Needless to say, we finished today, and here we are. The last time, is Natasha Darcy in here? Stand up, Darcy. There's Natasha Darcy. So, back, give us some love, give us some love. You can sit down, Darcy. Look, Darcy's always good. All right. Back then, when we would do drills or anything pertaining to practice or conditioning, if you completed it or mastered it, then they would name the drill after you. So, Darcy had a drill. And I was excited about the drill because I grew up watching Darcy. So I'm like, ooh, Darcy drill, we're going to shoot some free throws. We're going to, Well, Darcy drill was a ladder drill. It was a sprint. On the basketball court, down and back was 1. You had to go up to 7 and come back down to 1. And I said, I know Darcy did not do that to us. You know what? When I see Darcy, we're going to move some furniture around here. Needless to say, I got through that day. Those were the more challenging times that I had here at LSU. The good times and the loving times, the times that were surrounded in family, was surrounded around Coach Gunner and her moments at her house and the words that she shared with us as we were preparing to become young ladies, and how she prepared us, how hard she was on us about just the small things, what you wore. This was back when you couldn't wear team sweats and you had to actually put on business casual to travel. I just remember going to Coach Gunner's house, watching the Roy Jones Jr. fight. And we broke college students. We didn't have the NIL deals like they have today. So we would purposely go to her house so she could pay for it. And she was, a lot older. And so when we finished watching the fight, she's like, lock my door when you leave my house. I'm like, all right, Coach. But the best thing, I miss Coach Gunner for a lot of reasons. But the most important reason is that breakfast she used to make. There was some of the best breakfast that I've ever had in my life, but us being around each other was some of the most cherishable moments that we've shared. The other thing that I figured out while I was here was that I could have been a founder of Uber. I was one of very few people on the team that had a car, so my teammates would often call me and say, Mom, you take me to run some errands, Jack in the Box, Mr. Getty's, McDonald's, and I'd say, you got some gas money? They were like, yeah, I got some gas money. And so I would take them to run errands and so on and so forth. Now that I'm grown, I could tell this story. On some lucky nights, I would get a phone call from one of my teammates, Donika Hodges. She'd say, Mom, you take me to the boat? I'd say, yeah, Don, you got some gas money? She said, yeah, I'm gonna get you some gas money. So I take her down to the boat. For the people that's not from here, ask somebody in the crowd what the boat is. Hey, I took her down to the boat. Sometimes it'll be an hour, sometimes it'll be a half an hour. She would call me, ooh, I licked them good at the boat, baby, come get me. I go get her, and we would go back to her apartment, me, her, and another teammate. And what would happen is when Dawn hit good at the boat, she would have Waffle House night. So Dawn would make chicken and waffles, and we'll have music playing, and I'll be in there. And so when Dawn bring the food out, she serve us, I'll eat. And our thing was, whenever we ate at Dawn's house, she would say, is the food good, or is it so good? And we'll be in the house, and I'm eating, I'm like, Dawn, it's so good. Those were the moments that I will always cherish, always remember, because it brought everything together. It brought the experience together. And the fans, there's no fans like no other. We would often sing Do What You Want about Rebirth Brass Band. That was like our theme song before we ran out on the court. And the one thing that we knew for sure was that some purple and gold was gonna be flying in them arenas. And the one thing that I've just learned as of recently is that opposing teams used to prey on our fans because they knew you were gonna come in and bring the Mardi Gras. They knew you was gonna bring the bows and the beads and the candy. And so they said they would wait to see who had the best beads and try to make some conversation with y'all to try to barter and trade for those beads. Mr. Stan, is Mr. Stan in here? Where you at, Mr. Stan? Hey, you see that hat? Keep standing, Mr. Stan. That is the most famous hat in LSU women's basketball history. And when I tell you they coming for you, Mr. Stan, they want that hat. Oh, man. The other thing, our fans had the psychological warfare. It was one year, I don't know who came up with the voodoo dolls. Somebody came up with the voodoo dolls, and baby, they were sticking them dolls in that stand. Y'all scared the crap out of some people. They still ask about them dolls to this day. Y'all still got them dolls? And like, yeah, we got them dolls. So Coach Smokey, where you at? Where you at, baby? If you ever need some psychological war, tell the Fast Break Club, they still got them dolls back there. Oh, man. But I just want to say it's been amazing. Even to see Coach Skip Burton's wife do a second line after we reached one of the Final Fours one year. But the fans have always been amazing at making this experience great. Even the tailgates. I don't know, we still do the tailgates? Or we need to crank that back up? Because that was the one time we knew we was going to eat good. We was broke college students, so them plates went a long way. Them plates went a long way. Also, with Martin Luther King Day tomorrow and everything surrounding it, I learned a lot here at LSU. I had quite a few elders that spoke to me while I was here. And I had one elderly guy that came up to me. He was like, you know what, baby, if it wasn't for you, I don't know if I ever would have came down here. And I said, huh? And it didn't dawn on me, the history of just life and, you know, struggles, trials, tribulations. And there were people that were fighting for me to have this moment that some are here with us today and some are now ancestors. And I never take for granted a day while I'm standing here and what that means to so many people that look just like me. So I just want to say thank you. As a woman, we're often overlooked, underpaid, overworked, but yet we still go on to do and accomplish amazing things within our career paths, within our lives, even when we go unnoticed. And so I stand here today as a representation of all the women who have felt unnoticed. And it took a woman like Coach Mulkey to help me become noticed, to use her voice, her power, her platform to shine a light on accolades that was done so long ago. But women often lift each other up and empower each other because we have to. Now I'm gonna give myself a little plug here. We have a book out. I have a book out right now. It's called Hoop Muses. Myself, Kay Fagan, and Sophia Chang came up with this idea to, you know, put together women's basketball history. And it details women's basketball from the time that Dr. Naismith invented it, and the fight and the struggle that women have had to be a part of this game. And I didn't know, as we was going through this book, the amount of history that, you know, some women that were so passionate to keep this alive had to deal with the restrictions and the limitations. Because for so long, basketball wasn't deemed ladylike. You wasn't supposed to run, you wasn't supposed to jump, you wasn't supposed to sweat. Depending on where you lived, whether the West Coast or the East Coast or the Midwest or down South, rules were different. How many passes you can make, how many dribbles you can make, how many moves, what side of the court you could play on. But they had women who felt like I felt about basketball and said it needed to be here and stay here for someone to pass the torch, for this game to evolve and this game to grow. And now we talk and we have conversations about Nancy Lieberman signing the first $100,000 contract, or what it meant to have the UConn-Tennessee rivalry, or what Louisiana Tech and Coach Mulkey and Leon Ballmore meant to women's basketball history, and the fight and the perseverance that women throughout our game have had to endure for me to be standing right here. And so that makes me even more thankful, because my little legacy is now a part of that book as an example of what can happen when we continue to fight and continue to do the things necessary to move the needle forward in our game. I know the Lady Tigers aren't in here, but they're doing an amazing job of continuing that fight. They're 17-0 right now. Coach Mulkey, I'm hoping 18-0 after today. But we all have a responsibility as people just to continue to grow, continue to evolve, and continue to get better. And that's what pursuing greatness is. I want to say thank you to the board and everyone that voted to make this possible for me. I want to say thank you to everyone that wrote emails or whatever form of communication that had to go into influencing the board to make this possible. You know, most times you don't hear the kind words or the emails and stuff that was brought to our attention until after you're gone. And it was great to be able to pass that on to my parents, because I joke with them often. I'm like, so when you had me, did you know how to parent? Did you read the baby books? Like, oh, we didn't read no baby books. You know, but this definitely, you know, obviously gives them an idea of what great parenting they did with the words, the kind words that people had to say about what I've done and who I am as a person. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here. I know people travel long, far, wide, everywhere to get here, and I really do appreciate that. Coach Mulkey, thank you. Y'all see how fast she hung that phone up on that thing, huh? She come in, hey, baby, you gonna get that statue. Say, thank you, Coach Mulkey. I started crying, she hung that phone up. Thank you, Coach Mulkey. I don't have enough thank yous to give you, balloons, flowers. You don't know what you've done for myself, my family, the community, this university. In just such a short period of time, you've turned this program around. And I just want to say thank you. Look, I know I can't stand here all day, and they're going to have people texting me like, you ain't tell me thank you. Look, I seriously mean thank you. But before I get down from this stage, I just have to say, I hope I'm able to get some parking now, because, you know, right here by the tiger cage, it's pretty hard to get through that gate. Yeah. Look, everybody like, oh, they don't play around here about some parking, so. But Miss Dee Dee, Ronika and Donika Hodges' mama, every time I see her, she'd be like, hey, Seimone, baby, I need you to get your name in them lights. And I say, yeah, Miss Dee Dee, I'm gonna get my name in them lights one day, Miss Dee Dee. Well, Miss Dee Dee, I got my name in them lights. And I hope I've made you all proud. To my Baton Rouge family, my LSU family, my Louisiana family, I love you and thank you.
There you go. That's your souvenir. That was wonderful. If your book is as good as that sangria, it's going to sell 100 million copies. You all should get a taste of Seimone sangria on the way out. She was the first overall pick in the 2006 WNBA draft by the Minnesota Lynx. Rookie of the Year, of course, what would you expect? In 2011, she won her first of three, count them, three WNBA championships, also earning MVP honors. She was an 8-time WNBA All-Star. And earlier this year, Minnesota retired her jersey, number 33. From Capitol High to LSU to the Lynx to the world, 3 Olympic medals, Beijing, London, Rio de Janeiro, representing Baton Rouge. Our Director of Athletics is Scott Woodward. Scott, please come and reflect on this historic day.
First and foremost, I want to thank the Augustus family for sharing this dime in our community. From the bottom of our hearts, We have been lucky and we've been blessed, and Skip said it eloquently, and everyone up here said it eloquently. We are lucky to have her not only then, but in our midst today, because as we remember, Seimone, you touched everyone and everything. And there's a little anecdote I want to share with everyone. Coach Mulkey, there's a great picture of Seimone with a young Angel Reese, and Seimone, just don't think that your shadow is fading. It is very, very big on this university and on this community. And I think about it every time I go to Jay's Barbecue and I see that picture of the Sports Illustrated, and I just smile. And that's what you do. You make us smile and you make us great. And I can't add to the eloquence of what you've accomplished, but I can add to what you've meant to this university, what you've meant to this athletic department, and what you've meant to this state. And for that, the only thing I have to say to you is thank you and God bless.
So in true Louisiana fashion, the Augustus family has a special surprise for Seimone. And we would like to ask everyone at this time to follow the second line out of the building to the statue unveiling. Please take your belongings with you because we're not coming back in here. Please take everything with you. Laissez les bon temps rouler.